Sai is currently with Dunzo. He's had an extensive career earlier with AVP as marketing with Zomato. He's been with a bunch of traditional brands like TVS, AB and Bev, etc. So he has an extensive career in branding, and like all of y'all would have already noticed, I think Dunzo's marketing strategies are something that all of us want to know more about. So let's hear it from Sai. Sai, just a quick TLDR into your life story. How has the journey been? And anything that you like to share with us, something maybe that we can't find on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks so much for inviting me on this. So, brief background of what I do. I currently lead brand marketing at Dunzo. For those of you who may not be aware, Dunzo is a hyperlocal delivery startup in Bangalore. It's over 5.5 years old, and we basically do deliveries of all kinds, large deliveries of medicine, essentials, food, grocery, pet supplies, anything you name it, right? Even send packages, etc. So that's pretty much in terms of Dunzo. Prior to this, I used to be at Zomato. A few of you may know me from. I used to handle brand and growth for Zomato Gold, the subscription product that you may be aware of. And like Suhas rightly said, before that, I've been in a lot of traditional FMCG, automobile, lifestyle marketing brands for close to 10 years. That's and yeah, I'm basically a Bangalore boy. Studied in FAPS, Christ College, and then did my MBA from IIM Indore. And that's sort of a summary of what I do at work, right? Apart from this, there are the things that I do outside of work, but not priority for today. So I think there are few who've already posted some questions on Slido. I honestly don't like Gyan sessions. I really hate them. So I asked Suhas that if he could start off with Q&As. I prefer to sort of switch it to start with Q&As and then sort of force fit what I had as pointers to those answers, right? So I have a deck. I mean, I have like a it's a sort of a module that I created when a lot of people ask me similar questions, right, on how to go from 0 to 1 marketing, how to measure what you're doing in marketing, how do we create the kind of content that people want to see, and so on. And so yeah, so I have a flow in terms of what to dos that you can start from tomorrow. But I rather prefer starting with a question than working backwards, right? Is that fine, Swas?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thanks so much for sharing. And like you shared, I think we have a bunch of questions that we thought might be interesting. But in case you guys have any questions around Zomato and any questions around size carrier, any questions around how Dunzo does it and how maybe you can apply it to your startup, please share it on the Slido link. So we'll just go through. We have the agenda for today is we have a bunch of questions. We'll be shooting it out. We think it's interesting. We think we've collected it from the community, and followed by that we'll pick up some questions from Slido, the top voted ones, and then maybe Sai, if we have some more time left on the session, maybe Sai can go deeper into one of the sections that maybe you guys ask. Let's keep it very free flow. And starting right off, I think Sai, everyone's more interested in your recent Zomato plus Dunzo. So I think most of the questions that we have are around that.
Sure, sure.
The first one. Is around Zomato Gold. Now, like Zomato Gold became like super, like a very, very hit product. So, what was the entire thought process about it? How did you guys go from 0 to 1? How did the idea come? How did you guys even come up with the idea? And what is the GTM for Zomato Gold?
So to be honest, I joined the Zomato Gold team. In fact, a couple of the members from the Zomato Gold team are on this call. But I joined it when the product already been launched. The logic or the thought behind it was largely from the point of view of ensuring that restaurants get traffic throughout the entire week, right? Uh, what typically happens in the restaurant industry is that a walk-ins are skewed towards the weekends. Walk-ins are skewed towards newer restaurants, etc. People wish to sort of try new restaurants, so people are not able to create that sort of loyalty, right? And the idea behind Zomato Gold was solving the problem for restaurants by ensuring have audience who is coming to you on a regular basis, who are incentivized to keep coming back to you. and the other side on the user front is also providing better value, right? Because of real estate, especially in out is fairly high, right? If you look at most of the countries, especially in Southeast Asia, China, the average rate at which people out, either through ordering in or ordering out, is a lot higher. It's close to 3 to 7 times higher than what it is in India. So the idea was to make sure that more people go out, and secondly, create this sort of pool of restaurants that are highly rated, better quality, and will provide better value. Right. So that was really the plan. I think the audio is breaking. Let me just stop the video and hope
Yeah.
the audio gets better.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
So yeah, that's the logic behind. Yeah, that was the logic behind Zomato Gold, for increasing traffic for the restaurants and providing better value for users. And we had already seen a few examples of this working in UAE. And I think it was really brainchild of Pankaj Chadha, PC, who sort of created Zomato Gold in UAE. So initially, the product was only on providing value on alcohol in UAE versus food in Portugal. So we did a lot of testing of I think pricing was the biggest factor, especially in India, right? So we tried the product for close to a year in the other two countries. We tried events, we tried imagery, we tried a lot of marketing activities.
Hmm.
But in India, by the time we had launched it, we had perfected simple things on user flow. Pricing was the most important thing, I think, when it launched. We were planning to sell a certain number of subscription within 30 days. We sold close to 1.5 times that number in a span of 24 hours, and we had to shut down subscriptions, right?
Wow.
So it took us by surprise a lot. A lot of it was learning, right? We didn't expect the kind of boom. In fact, I think one of the people here on the call, Pragya Mitra, he was actually building this data model around saying, what can we how many subscriptions can we predict in the first month, right? And it was quite interesting for us.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, do you think, just to follow up on that, do you think it's mainly because of the pricing that you had such a great response, like 1.5x in less than 24 hours of your 30-day target, or was it something else?
Not at all.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
not at all. So one, of course, Zomato as a brand has a higher loyalty in India versus other countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that made a big. So Zomato already had user base, so a lot of brands over a period of time think saying, should we launch a subscription product, right? A classic example would be even a brand like Dunzo,
Mm-hmm.
right? We had launched, I think, a brand called Dunzo X more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was too early for us, right? I think
Right.
loyalty programs and subscription products work very well if you have a large enough loyal user base, which
Mm-hmm.
in India was true for Zomato and is not necessarily true for at the scale at which we are at right now.
Got it. So more on the timing than anything else. Like the timing was probably right for them.
Timing in a large enough user base, right? Your conversion is going to be very low,
Yep.
right? So you
Yep.
need to have a large enough user base. Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point. Yeah. And moving on to you mentioned that you tried it out in different geographies before coming to India. So what are some
Yeah.
stark differences that you've seen in consumer behavior across, say, these three geographies specifically? Maybe one part of Europe, Middle East, and India. So what are some highs and lows of each?
I mean, it's really at a macro level. India is a lot more value conscious market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a place like Europe, which is the other extreme of a developed country, people are not necessarily driven by value as such, right? It's more of the experience piece of it.
Right.
In fact, value could be a detriment. Like if it is cheaper than everything else, people may convert lesser. In India, it's the opposite, right? The
Yep.
lower your value is, clearly you'll get better conversions.
Right.
So there is a sort of stage of maturity at which consumers are at or the markets are at. So that's a key factor that we found, right? Uh, Imagery plays a bigger role in countries like UAE and Portugal. So there's obviously in marketing we have those sort of a structure of volume builders and image builders, right? We all think, let's take a common product like Bajaj Pulsar, right? So we all think the people who ride Pulsars are the young, good-looking college students who are extremely popular, etc. But
Yep.
the largest number of Bajaj Pulsars that sell in India is in UP West, right?
Interesting.
Uh, So you get the idea that certain
Yeah.
things that may be true in reality in terms of volume aren't necessarily true in terms of what you see in imagery. And imagery plays a larger role in developed markets like Portugal, UAE, etc. So over there, marketing efforts are a lot higher, a lot more concentrated on building imagery rather than building value. In
Mhm.
India, it is building value, clearly better conversions there.
Fair point. Fair point. Fair point. And would you have any insights on how you go about deciding the pricing of a loyalty program? So, like you mentioned, I think brand and timing and a large enough user base are three, three drivers for it. But would you have any pointers on how you nailed a perfect pricing, or if you have any insights on that?
So I think what we learned doing multiple tests was that it has to be a simple ROI, right? So, for example, I'll give you an example of Zomato
Mm-hmm.
Gold, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
specific one. So, you pay a next amount for a subscription product.
Yeah.
The value that you look for is at least 2 to 3x of what you have invested in that,
Right.
right? Which means that what is the cost at which you're paying it, right? What is the average number of times that you are going out to dine out, right? What is the average amount that you spend at each of those transactions, and therefore what is your total outlay on that? So,
Right.
and what is your savings because of Zomato Gold, right? And typically what we see is that the conversion is best when users see at least 2x to 3x return on their investment. It's a simple even thing with credit card, right? So
Yep.
you
Yep. Yep.
invest, let's say, an American Express credit card for 10,000 rupees. You expect at least a certain amount in terms of returns of miles or privileges or discounts that would add up to at least 2 to 3 times of what you invested. And obviously, these differ from category to category, price point to price point. But that's what we saw in the category restaurant industry.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Fair point. Um, Yeah, I think that gives a fair idea about Zomato Gold. So,
Yep.
moving on to Dunzo, how do you see what are some stark differences or what are some similarities of how you're building brand Zomato versus brand Dunzo?
So definitely, with the case of Dunzo as well as Zomato Gold, there's a little bit of creating awareness first, right? We may be people in this call on this call, for example, may be aware of Dunzo, but there's a larger audience, sort of the TAM as we refer to it, right? That who are not necessarily aware of the category
Yep.
of. So they obviously are aware of food delivery, grocery delivery, because over the years, Swiggy, Zomato, Big Basket, Grofers, everyone has sort of built that habit. But when it comes to, let's say, a category like send packages, right? A large number of the people in this country aren't necessarily aware that, hey, I can actually prepare food at my home, make a dabba, and send it to an ex-family member somewhere else in the city, right? Or I can just pick up documents and so on. So that's a category that requires building awareness. So that's the stage that we are at with Dunzo, just simply creating awareness and top of the mind recall, saying that if and when I have a requirement of delivering food or medicines or sending packages, Dunzo should be among the top 3 brands that I'm thinking of then. Obviously, the choice is made based on multiple different factors. Pricing plays the biggest role there. But that's really what we're driving with everything that we do on marketing in Dunzo. That is it driving what is known as TOMA, top of the mind awareness, saying,
Hmm.
is it among the top 3 brands, top 2 brands I'm thinking of at that time? So that's
Interesting.
really where we are at Dunzo. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And like you mentioned, is there some specific way to measure this when you say, how do you measure? What are some KPIs that you track when you say that, you want people about, especially around brand awareness? How do you track brand awareness?
Yeah. So over a period of time, again, we have tried multiple experiments because that's really the biggest question every marketer has, right? How do I
Yeah.
measure?
Yeah.
And there are different ways to do this. Traditional companies do it through large scale sort of researches, on ground researches. We've tried to find them. We've also experimented with similar kind of research projects that sort of track the entire funnel, right from awareness till the final preference and loyalty. But I think the best form and the easiest form, if you're sort of going at 0 to 1, is to look at organic traffic, right? Organic traffic on your Play Store, organic installs, even just organic searches on Google. This will help
Right.
you sort of figure out at least if this is going in the right direction. Directionally, and it has to be a slightly long term, between 45 to 90 days. It can't be that you start something today and see it in the next 1 week. That's not going to happen, right? And if someone's saying that it is possible, then that's a different situation. But I think slightly longer term organic fixes like this, which are zero cost, and then of course there are established sort of research projects where, let's say Immobile, for example, does this brand track study for a lot of brands like Swiggy, where they track the entire funnel and say, this is what your awareness was in the month of October, this is what it is today. So then definitely you know what is working, right? Or the problem is consideration, then you know that you need to be running more offers in a particular city where consideration is the problem, where the funnel is broken. These are two main things that you could use to track brand measures.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And uh, yeah, I think that is, I think, a fair point on the organic installs. Is there some way you calculate an ROI on, say, the content, especially because you guys are so strong on, say, everyone knows you for your puns on Twitter. So, but there is some cost
Mm-hmm.
involved behind this, right? You know, you need really good brand marketers in place there. So that might be one cost. There might be other costs involved. So, how do you track an ROI for this specific content marketing play?
So in terms of content marketing, like I said, the real goal that we are tracking is top of the mind awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we believe that, so there is a gray area in terms of trackability, right? There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So everyone on this call, for example, is aware of Dunzo's puns, the movement marketing, the condom deliveries, or
Yeah.
a great little take on Game of Thrones, etc. But uh, there is a gap in terms of tracking that, right? But what we look at is engagement metrics. That versus every week, do we see an increase in engagement on social media, and that on a certain belief will lead to organic install. So there is a gap in terms of complete attribution. That's a given. I think that's a battle that we shouldn't try to sort of win immediately. It's a slightly longer term play, and it's great for brands which have the resources to do that.
Right.
But there's always going to be a gap between, as long as you're measuring what is working on social media engagement, that should be good enough, right?
Got it.
There is a gap in terms of attributing it to finally what works for you as a business. That is a reality. But as long as, what we do is, or week on week, we look at what kind of what content is working on what kind of platform, and you'll be amazed by to see the numbers that, a certain I'll give you an example, right? So well crafted pun around a current affairs topic may work extremely well on a platform like Twitter, but
Mm-hmm.
it's completely irrelevant for a platform like Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as sort of this content piece will work across all platforms. YouTube is a completely different animal. TikTok is a completely different universe altogether. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no such thing as one content piece works across all platforms. It has to be, you have to look at it, look at the numbers and say this is working on it. And what we do is simply like rinse and repeat, right? Whatever is working, we try and do more of that. So a simple example in the last 90 days is this thing called Dude with Sign, right? So we
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
a take on that.
Yeah.
Dunzo partner with Sign.
Yeah.
It was just one of the 10 experiments we had on a Friday evening, right? And we said that let's try it out. Kya hoga types. But it's been one of our best performing posts, right? So
Yep.
then we keep trying to do more of those. We tried a lot of very sort of well thought out, very clever posts around working from home and so on and so forth. It didn't work, right? So we stopped doing that. So every week we have a call where we look at two things. One, we look at a metrics of what has worked for us, what has not worked for us, what we should stop doing, what we should do more. The second thing that we do is we also have a meeting where it's called a marketing catch-up meeting, like tomato ketchup.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
basically we look at what other brands are doing, right? And when I say other brands, I don't just mean like Swiggy, Zomato, Big Basket, because that's very limited in terms of what's happening. But what we look at is also artists, Instagrammers, people who are popular on Twitter on as an individual account, investors, startups, any other brand, what is working for them, right? So there are two meetings that we have. One is basically looking at our work. The second meeting is basically looking at other people's work, and we try and take inspiration. Honestly, like if you follow film writing, etc., there's this famous quote which says, there's no such thing as an original idea, right? Something else. Harry Potter is a rehash of Star Wars, whatever it is. So there's no such thing as an original idea. You can always take inspirations from what Spotify is doing in the US, or any other brand is doing some other category, right? So I think those are two things that we should do. It's really helpful.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks so much for that. I think one interesting thing is, off the top of your head, are there any like anecdotes that you remember that have been super interesting for you, but might have completely bombed? Like, you might have been super excited about it when you were brainstorming, and when you launched, the
Mhm.
response wasn't so. Was there anything like that?
Yeah, there are lots of these actually. I mean, my favorite example is a project that we released, I think, 2018. If you go back on our content feed, there's something called a millennial condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a project that, I mean, it's one of those ideas that I came up with, where can we do an office-like mockumentary about millennials in India, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I was trying to build this larger um, stream of or theme of content which is around building what I'm calling as a Dunzo generation, where everybody who uses Dunzo is unique in their own way, right? We're lazy, we don't want to meet our neighbor on the first floor, so hence we get Dunzo to pick up my check and give it to my house owner who lives on the next floor, right? So there's crazy stories, and we wanted to sort of build a larger narrative. And we put in a lot of effort. We put in I mean, it was something that we worked on, we were all passionate about it, but it didn't work, right? And it was a big learning for, and there are a lot of these, we have this idea that we want to roll out somewhere in this year, which is like graveyard of ideas that we came up with, but A, it didn't work, or B, it didn't, we couldn't do it. But there's always going to be experimentation, and this is one of the things that I would love to talk about. In fact, let me just maybe,
Yeah.
right, so somewhere I had put this slide. This is a very old sort of a framework that Coke uses, right? Where 70% of the work that you do in marketing should be safe content. You should be 100% sure, 90% sure that this will work, right? You know that partner with sign will work. You know that simple um, comms that explain to people what Dunzo is, etc., will work, right? Those that should be 70% of your model there. But 20% should be things that may be a little risky, and the things that other people have tried, and maybe you should uh, replicate that, right? But 10% of the content or 10% of the marketing work that you put out there should be things that have never been done before, right? And and these will always fail. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody able to see this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's.
Yeah, so this is always going to be there, right? And I always put this out there. So this is a slide that everyone asks me, like, how do marketing teams come up with these great ideas? Some of them will work. So you see on this top left, this is one of our best performing posts, which is around the first time we did some what we call as a data campaign, where we looked at insights based on what people are ordering. Right, this worked extremely well.
Yeah.
This is how we welcomed Swiggy to the category of delivery. And I remember it was the first real viral piece of content that we created. Um, this is when Zomato acquired Uber Eats, and this is the millennial condition that I was talking about. Right now, three of them worked. This one didn't. Right, and this is
Yeah.
going to be a given, and this is something that has to come from the leadership. Right,
Mm-hmm.
if the leader has to give enough freedom to the marketing team and say that yes, you will fail in certain things. Right, there's no doubt about it. 10 to 20% of the work that you will do will not take place, but that is the only way you will try and find these kind of viral pieces. If you're
Right.
going to be safe all the time, and pardon me for saying this, but if you're going to, let's say, listen to the legal team all the time, right, and say that this is not doable, this is not legally allowed, all of that, then you're never going to do great marketing work. And that's a choice that we always have. Like, you can either sort of choose to be a mediocre brand, just putting out their content on, and nobody's going to care except marketing team and a few people. But at the same time, if you want to really sort of break the clutter, and because at the end of the day, you have a limited marketing budget, right? And if you
Yeah.
want to make that work 10x, then you have to do things that are going to break the clutter, and that's the only point.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to, this slide is important because all of this is planned, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have this idea about marketing, saying that, hey, most marketing guys just smoke a joint and then come up with these great ideas and so on. It's not true. A lot of it actually comes from very scientific sort of planning. I'll give you an example, right? So has everybody seen this Swiggy post where we welcome them to the category, or have many people seen that?
The one on the top right, right?
Yes, top right one.
Yep. Yep. We're
Yeah.
getting.
So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone has seen that. So let me tell you how this happened, right? And just a story around behind this. So this is a random message that Kabir messaged one day and said that, Swiggy is going to be entering the category
Mm-hmm.
response to them. And we came up with close to 15 or 16 ideas, right? Including one of the second best option, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, but the second best option over here was a meme from, Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum, where Jaya Badri is basically standing with this plate of diyas and all that. And it says, the line was, Kabhi Swiggy, Kabhi Hum, right? Um, so my point is that none of this is like thought of on the day. None of this is like spontaneous. A lot of this is planning, right? And that's the one thing that requires some understanding, that you have to have a pipeline of ideas, and ideas to be rejected finally when you come to something that will work. It's not going to be the first idea that's going to work, right? That's the point I was trying to make here, that a lot of this is planning related, and a lot of this is requires few weeks and few options and references. A lot of it has to be based on what others have tried in the past.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I hope, Sharda, you're able to hear me now. But yeah, that's one important thing I just wanted to put out there.
Yeah, for sure. Since you mentioned like you had say 15 options to choose from, so how do you decide which one to go forward with? What is the process or the framework there?
So the process is okay. Okay, let me just show this one other thing that
Yeah.
I think really helps people. So try and figure out who your user is. I think this is. I mean, it's like back to the basics, but this is the most important thing. It's like this line from Alice in Wonderland, right? If you don't know where you want to reach, then what you want to take, right? And this is how we sort of look at it. We divide our users into two main categories. At least this is how we looked at it a year ago, right? Don't go by the visuals or the names, but they're just indicative, right? And this really helps us building even product design, right? So when you look at creating our new app screens, new icons, delight pages on the app, all of this comes from this consumer persona. So consumer personas, we had this idea of saying, is the consumer that we're targeting a Dhruv and a Deepika, or is it a Manjunath and a Manjula, right? And the way I differentiate them is, let's imagine how your user would look like, right? So let's say Dhruv is this banker who lives in Indanagar, 80 feet road. Deepika is this sort of Instagrammer, freelancer, photographer living in Kormangla or HSR, right? Versus Manjunath and Manjula, they're all, by the way, SCCA plus. Does everyone know what SCCA plus is, or SCC classification?
See. Yep.
No, so I'll explain. Basically, it's a sort of a traditional way of looking at users based on their socio-economic classifications, which means that if you plot a graph of their profession and their education, you arrive at a certain. So basically, all of us in this Zoom call are most likely SCCA plus, right? We're all graduates. We all work in a certain profession above a certain salary, right? But my point is here that classification is no longer relevant, right? Because Manjunath, Manjula, Dhruv, Deepika are all SCCA plus, right? They're all graduates, they all live in Bangalore, they all earn above 50,000 rupees. But there's a difference in the psychographic, right? Manjunath, for example, is probably owning a hardware store in Alassur, right? Manjula probably works in a traditional company, or is a home worker, but she lives in a Malaysian, for example, right? So you get the difference. Where they live, what their names are, give an insight into who they are, right? Dhruv and Deepika will probably have an Apple phone. They'll probably use Uber a lot. They'll probably watch a lot of Netflix, listen to a lot of Spotify. The way they unlock their phone is through their Face ID, right? If you look at the wallpaper, Dhruv will probably have some wallpaper which says Wanderlust, or work, 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 or work is passion, or something like that, right? Whereas if you look at Manjunath's phone or Manjula's phone, the wallpaper will be, Tirupati, the idol, or it'll be the photo of their family, or it'll be a sort of a Tendulkar post, or somebody that they admire a lot. right? The phones will be a lot more value for money based. It will be Micromax or Vivo, etc. The most used product is not Uber, it is Paytm. It is, they watch their content on YouTube. The way they unlock their phone is a pattern lock, right? It
Right.
just gives you an insight into what kind of user they are. So Dhruv and Deepika look at Dunzo like a Jeeves or anybody who's like a fifth wheel, saying that I will use Dunzo just to make sure that I have 25 hours in a day versus 24. Manjunath and Manjula are clearly looking at like a value service. I use Dunzo because if I travel in an auto from Indranagar to HSR, I'm paying 200 bucks versus I'm paying Dunzo just 150 and I'm saving X amount of money. Right? That is simply the reason why they're using Dunzo. They're not using Dunzo because it's cool, they're lazy, all of that. These people are hardworking people, they want value out of it, right? And obviously things are passion points. So Dhruv and Deepika will probably look at Game of Thrones, Manjunath, Manjula look at Big Boss Kannada and so on. So if you know who your user is, and you have to have at least two user groups, you can't have one user. You can't say that my product is made for this one perfect Elon Musk kind of a user. That's nonsense, and we're all living in a pipe dream. But if you figure out at least two user groups, your existing power users and your next million users, then you can figure out how to build your content, right? So sorry, this is a slightly longish answer to your question, but if the question is how do you decide on what to make, you have
Yeah.
to figure out who you're talking to, right?
Got it.
Let me just show you, let's say,
Yeah.
a Dhruv. Right? So I like things that are practical and real, right? So this
Mm-hmm.
is what our Dunzo page looks like, right? So let's
Yeah.
say, for example, a lot of, like, recently one of our most engaging posts for this thing where we created a throwback to classic ads, right?
Yeah.
This is a famous Feviquick ad that we sort of created Dunzo Taken. It's a tribute, right? Now this campaign is targeted at Dhruvs and Deepikas, right? They understand, and when I say Dhruvs and Deepika, I'm talking about in priority, right? Obviously, it appeals to Manjunath and Manjula because we all grew up on Cadbury ads, we grew up on Bajaj ads, right? But this, on the other hand, right? This is something that we are calling as Danya Ki Dunya. So we have a mascot called Danya and Hari, right? And we try to sort of have this New Yorker cartoon-like series, but related to a Manjunath and Manjula, right? So the language changes, right? Sharma Ji Beta is a lot more mainstream Indian
Uh-huh.
idiom, right? So my point is that this content piece is created keeping in mind who the target audience is, right? And you can actually do this like a drinking game, right? Just go to a Dunzo page and figure out who do you think this is for, right? So for example, if I look at, this is one of my favorite posts, right? That it's a take. This is not going to on the other hand, things around partners, talking about the kind of work that partners are putting out there. This is one of our favorite and best performing posts. It's called Sab Sambhalte Lete Hum, right? Now, this is clearly a campaign that's targeted Manju. So if you figure out who you're talking to, it's easier to create content for them.
Right. Right. And how do you go about the weightage? For example, like, is that something that you start with? Okay, next post or next campaign that we build has to go for this, and then maybe, okay, we've done enough for these guys. Now we target it. Is that the process? How you think about it?
So definitely, again, it depends on what our objective is, right?
Yeah.
So performance marketing,
Yeah.
right? 90% of the work that we do is for Manjunaths
Okay. Okay.
because they're all new users, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
all users who have not heard of Dunzo. We need to keep our CPAs lowest possible.
Mm-hmm.
So hence everything is very so we have something called a TDA approach. This is something that a designer coined. So we hated this phrase called dumb down
Yeah.
communication. Right? A lot of people say we should dumb this down, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
hate that phrase because it's insulting to the user and it's insulting to us as well. Why would we want to spend our time creating dumb down creatives? So he created this thing called TDA approach, tactical design approach, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically saying get deliveries fastest in 30 minutes, right? It's as simple as that. Now you and I may not like that, and we may like puns and word plays and
Yeah.
clever little but when we're creating performance marketing, it's 99% made for Manjunath. When we're creating social media on organic, it's 50-50, right? When
Got it.
I'm sending push notifications, again, this is done through data. we find that majority of our users are Manjunaths. So which
Right.
is why a lot of Hindi wordplay works better than Netflix and chill kind of wordplay,
Right. Right.
right? So it's
Right.
again audience to audience, medium to medium, that differs, and then we put the weightage. But on organic social media, it's mainly 50-50,
Uh-huh.
because we find that. Um, Again, slightly meta point, and just for everyone to be aware of, is that um, social media is of different kinds, right? There is a social media like for people like us, and there is a, I mean, people use this phrase India 1, India 2, India 3, right? There
Mm-hmm.
is such a categorization in social media as well. A lot of things that trend among, let's say, Hindi speaking audience, we may not even get to know.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right? I don't know if everyone's aware of this thing called Abba Hamare harmonium bajate the. Right? If I do a like a raise hand feature right now on this call, right?
Yeah.
Majority people won't have heard of this,
Right.
right? Because it
Right. Right.
happens in a different world.
Yep.
We are all aware of all the Game of Thrones, or things that like TikTok, for example. A lot of the challenges that happen on TikTok and go viral on TikTok, we
Yep.
may not be aware of it. So my point is that uh, it's not true that everything works for everyone. That's my
Yep. 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 No, fair enough. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. I think it's an interesting insight to get it, to see how you guys do it in at Dunzo. Um, I think I have a
Are
bunch
you
of
able to
questions.
see the
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, we can see your screen.
Um, just a second.
Yeah. Now I think, yeah,
Yeah.
we can see it again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now.
so my point is that that Dhruv and Deepika or Manjunath, Deepika is a very basic way to do it, right? And if you really want to go deep in it, you can break up your users into different audiences, right? So we've done this thing where we looked at, let's say, that is great in 2019. In 2020, that's not necessarily true. In 2020, there are different user groups. So that, for example, we've decided to take up this year as older or senior citizens in every city are a big target audience for Dunzo because they cannot go out necessarily. They're right. They're not using Dunzo because of value or coolness and convenience. They're doing it because of safety reasons, right?
Yeah.
Older couples actually don't go out because of safety reasons, and hence they have a requirement for Dunzo. There are bachelors, there are spinsters, there are people who are newly married. Like if you notice a lot of newly married couples when they're shopping in a supermarket, their behavior is very different, right? Both the members will be on the call with their parents asking them kaun sa aata lena hai, kaun sa rice lena hai, right? Which
Yeah.
oil should I buy, right? They're totally clueless. So a place like app like Dunzo becomes great because then they just need to put in what they need and they don't know, they're new to the city and so on. Then there are entrepreneurs like Alicia Souza, for example. She's
Mhm.
working out of home, she needs art supplies. Dunzo has a great help for freelancers,
Right.
right? So I'm just trying to tell you that there's a very basic way to look at it, but
Yeah.
there's also a lot more complex way of looking at it,
Yeah.
and that really helps you.
Yeah, yeah, one step ahead. Yeah, go deeper into that audience. Yeah, I think that's great. And actually, matter of fact, I think my mom uses Dunzo more than I do. So I think, yeah, your audience is definitely much wider than just millennials.
Yeah, I mean that's the most important thing, right? I was talking to somebody who had a startup of servicing cars, right?
Mhm.
What I mean, his web page did not tell them the value that the service provides. So it's a myth that it's only the India one users who use certain apps. As
Yeah,
long as people see value in your product and you are communicating that value clearly.
true.
If you are talking about you know technology and AI and so on, but the user on the other hand is looking to service his or her vehicle and looking for value in it, and you should be communicating that. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yep, 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 for sure. Yep. I think there are a bunch of other questions. Just one interesting one that I saw was, what has been the most craziest Dunzo delivery that you, or Dunzo request that you've seen? Anything off the top of your head?
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. There are quite a few crazy ones.
Okay.
I think one of the recent ones was, again, I come back to value because I think it's very important for Indian users, right? So
Uh-huh.
somebody put this out where they had ordered food on Swiggy, right?
Huh.
And let's say the meal costed them around 150 bucks, and but unfortunately it was a weekend, so they got it delivered to their office address,
Okay.
right? So the Swiggy guy arrived at the office address, and he was unwilling to change the drop location, right? So this user basically calculated saying, I'm going to lose 150 bucks, right? Swiggy's not going to refund my cancellation fee. So, and I rather raise a Dunzo task to take that parcel from the Swiggy guy and deliver it to my home, right? And the amount that I will pay Dunzo is still lesser than the amount that I will lose by paying Swiggy, right?
Yeah.
And I found that fascinating. And we've seen multiple instances where people sort of use a combination of apps to
Yeah.
deliver it. In the past, there are many crazy things that people used to use Dunzo for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were times when we used to do concierge services, so people used to get uh, Dunzo guy to just go and take a selfie with all his friends at a party because he was at home and
Oh,
he
wow.
couldn't reach there.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, there are definitely crazy ideas, and I think one of the things with India is that, and it's a cliche, but we always find newer ways to hack the system, right? And even right now in the COVID situation, people are finding different ways to, just stay sane, right? Using Dunzo to send wishes to each other, or cooking food and sending it to all their family members and so on. So yeah, there are always crazy stories on Dunzo.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And I mean, like it was my mom's birthday very recently. So,
Yep.
and I'm not currently in India. So, this is my first time that I'm outside of India. And this was one crazy, I'm just sharing because we're in the topic. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty active, a little active on Twitter. So, I just put out a post, hey guys, would you be willing to Dunzo flash to my mom? And like a bunch of folks just went on Dunzo and shared. And then, like it was so awesome, like sitting here, she was so happy about this. I think as a service, it's amazing what you guys at Dunzo are doing also. But yeah, coming back to the concierge bit, like what do you see challenges there? What is the future of concierge? Because I think you weren't able to scale it. I think you moved back to something more standard. But do you think at some point of time we'll be ready to serve a concierge market in India? What are the
So definitely.
challenges? Yeah.
So what we realize is that we want to be the logistics layer of any city, right?
Right.
Whether it is for B2B or B2C, that's really what can scale clearly, right? And our aim is really to improve our unit economics, which we
Mhm.
see happening better through pure logistics play than a concierge service,
Got
right?
it.
Initially the
Yeah.
idea was to sort of experiment with a few things,
Hmm.
but just being a pure logistics player is what we are looking at focusing on.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that is, yeah. As a business, yes, that makes sense. Um, what is
I think
something? Yeah.
Boini
Yeah.
Kiran Kumar wanted to ask a question.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Sorry, I just wanted it to be a
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's do that. I'll just bring him on the call. Boini, I'm just unmuting you so you can ask your question to say.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sai. And because I was like, I can't stop, like, the thought of like just immediately for, a counter question or something. So there is a small advice. I'm not sure. I'm not a big guy to give an advice to Donzo. So there is,
Mhm.
maybe you said like you come up with a very different ideas and many things, and then you suddenly start with some, great things, and then you start with one by one. So my question, like like you said, like a Swiggy guy, the food delivery to the home, and I mean the office address, but it has been again delivered to the home address because of the Donzo help me. So my question is: it also Donzo planning? I mean, there be future plan, or maybe I'm not sure. Is it
Mhm.
possible delivering the home food in our lunch hours? Because what happened, I'm a complete home food guy. I don't order any food from Zomato or Swiggy or anywhere, because I
Yeah.
always carry my home food with me every time.
Yes.
But sometimes what happens, it is very difficult if you want to go office in a meeting that you need to start early. Then what
Sure.
happens, it is sometimes very difficult to my mom to cook early. So
Mhm.
is it possible, can Donzo can come up with a concept saying that Donzo can deliver a home food to a particular office? Because there are so many people in that particular location. Maybe the delivery guy, the Donzo, can deliver multiple, the lunch to the particular people. So
Sure.
something, I'm sorry to if it is something looks crazy, but I feel
No,
there
no,
are
it's
so
not
many
crazy at all.
people.
So in fact, this is a use case that's come up quite frequently.
Okay.
And this is something that, so we are always running experiments on, different projects that we want to take up. Right. So basically, what you're talking about is two things. One is scheduled tasks, right? Things that, so that's one of the things that we do want to roll out. And home food, yes, I know what you're saying. There's actually a need, especially in Bangalore. There are quite a few startups which are already doing this, right? We're also monitoring them to see how big this can go. But our real criteria is really to see things that are profitable, and the kind of things that scale up, right?
Yep.
With our use case. So definitely, this is all part of our few experiments that we plan to run. But I get a feedback. I mean, what you're saying is that there is a use case for regular home food delivered to offices, and it's definitely one of the things that we are also working on.
For
Super.
sure.
So thank you so much. Because if you also see, maybe you can find out some research in the Tinman. Maybe you're aware of the Tinman application, right?
Yes.
So that's home food, the making to delivery, anybody can order. But it was not succeed, or maybe something it's fairly down in the market. Because
Sure.
I am from Hyderabad, so to reach my office, it's minimum takes me like 1 hour from
Yes.
my local city to high tech city. So I was thinking like maybe something Donzo can plan, so could help a lot for many people.
Sure.
For sure.
Thank
For
you so much.
sure. Yeah. Thanks so much, Boini.
Thank you so much.
Guys, if you have any questions, we'll probably just go through a bunch more and then on Slido, because I think some of them are posted. And then maybe if you have some more questions that you want to discuss with Sai, we'll open it up right after this session. So, Sai, we just have a couple of more and then we'll jump right into the Slido ones.
Sure.
Another one that came up pretty often was leaving Dunzo out, because I'm pretty sure you'll be biased. But
Yeah.
Zomato, AB InBev, Arvind, TVS. What was your top choice and why would you choose? Like, where did you enjoy working the most? Where was it most challenging? Where did you like working the most, and why?
I mean, definitely, I would put Zomato as number one, and TVS. I think in both these cases, right, and this is slightly meta point that I've sort of realized is that if you turn something that was not working before or had challenges of surviving and make that into a success, I think that's really the biggest. I don't know if this makes sense to everyone, but TVS, for example, I was handling a brand called TVS Sport, which wasn't doing well, right? There were plans to shut that brand down. And it's easier to go from, let's say, 0 to 1 versus something that's negative and taking it to positive, right? Something that's a loss making product, taking it positive. So, even like I was mentioning, Zomato Gold, for the longest time, it was a product that we kept tweaking, figuring out whether it can work or not. And in Zomato, there are always many experiments that are running, right? As a company, it's always fast paced. So they're always running multiple experiments, and Gold was one of those. And for it to sort of suddenly turn around and become successful in India, and then that became sort of a playbook to be replicated in US and Portugal. These are the two reasons. I mean, the same reason that these two things are clearly on top of my list. It's really the highlight of, and this is just a sort of a life lesson, if you may, for anyone, right? If you take a task that's not expected to succeed and turn it around, I think that's really the biggest kick you can get out of your career.
Yep, yep. I think that's an interesting point.
I mean,
And
it's easier to say that. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
it's easier to say that. Oh, I have this great plan. I want to try it out, and we started and it works,
yeah.
right? But versus something that wasn't necessarily expected to work and you turn it around, I think that's really the biggest kick I've had.
Yep, yep, yep. And what are your like you said, at Danzo you guys take inspiration. So what are some of the most what are your favorite consumer brands that you feel are absolutely killing it in terms of their brand or performance or content marketing play? Where do you drive inspiration from?
Um, I mean, there was a time when I used to look at. I mean, definitely, I think among. I will be partial on this, but Zomato definitely, I think, has done a great job over a period of time, right?
Mhm.
I worked in a certain department of certain section of Zomato, but I know that for over a period of time, they were a brand that sort of broke the club, right? And really, if you look at it, they were creating love for food. Nobody had ever done that. Nobody had
Mhm.
created this sort of conversation around food, and they took a route around using design and copy and doing that really well. Apart from that, I think one of the few brands that does extremely well is Netflix. They really drive conversations that are genuine. Obviously, it helps a lot because they have an advantage of sitting on a pile of popular culture which resonates well. Right? They can make jokes about anything under the sun, Friends or Matrix or anything. Right? So, but I still think they do a great job in terms of following it up.
Mhm.
You could be sitting a lot of brands. Like a lot of people say that Durex is my favorite brand in marketing. Right
Mhm.
now, it's easy. I mean, with all due respect to Durex, I mean they're a partner as well. But I'm saying that if you're doing things around sex, innuendos, it's always the easiest thing to get traction on. But I think despite all that, Netflix and Durex do a great
That's good.
job of moving forward. Yeah, and
Yep.
of course, I think one of my personal inspiration that we have used specifically is Spotify. I think
Mhm.
Spotify is one of those great brands which use for the first time said that we can use data to make marketing interesting. Right, a
Yep.
lot of our campaigns actually inspired by what Spotify did 3-4 years ago.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right, so yeah, these are the brands that I really think do great work.
Nice, nice. Yeah, thanks for
Among the
sharing.
traditional brands, I think I
Yeah.
would put Burger King up there.
Okay.
uh, they are the ones who are, and so there's something known as archetypes. There are you everyone who's sort of interested in brand marketing, you should read about archetypes.
Mhm.
So in archetypes, there's something known as everyman, and that's really the archetype that Dunzo is.
Yep.
So Dunzo will never do things that are titillating or provocative or use any sort of, let's say, language that some other brand might use. Right, and the reason is because we are part of this everyman. We've chosen to be part of everyman archetype, and the brand that fits into that is Burger King. So
Mhm.
Burger King does a lot of cheeky, humor-based. It takes on McDonald's, right? But it's never in an offensive way or things that would be bold, like the way Pepsi and Coke go against each other, right?
Yeah.
So Burger King is one of my favorite brands. They keep trying out new things, and they always get. I think the best way to figure out if your marketing campaign is doing well, if it gets picked up by the press,
Hmm.
right? And I've never seen a Burger King ad. I always see Burger King articles.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So I think that's a great testimony for what they do.
Yep, yep, I agree. I agree with you there. And since you spoke about people who want to get into brand marketing, so is an MBA really required, or what are some unconventional ways that you have seen people get into brand slash,
Yeah, I saw that
brand?
question that
Yeah,
somebody asked.
yeah,
I think those days are over,
okay,
right? I think whoever asked that question,
yeah,
you're right. Probably there was a time, and my personal example, and none of this on public record, so I'm just going to be
yeah,
honest here. But
yeah.
I did an MBA largely to get into marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when you needed a certain degree from a certain place to make it into, because okay, slightly meta point, but traditionally marketers that were the most respected were people from HUL, PNG, Coca-Cola, Pepsi,
Yep.
uh, right? And with all due respect for those companies, they were great brands, but not. They're not the kind of. I mean, if I go to a Bits Pilani today, nobody's going to want join a HUL or a Coke, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so my point is that no, that is not true. It used to be true. It was true when I did, and that's the reason why I went and did an MBA, not because MBA adds any value. We
Mm-hmm.
all know the reality of MBAs, but my point is that in today's world, it does not matter at all. In fact, I was telling somebody finished my internship yesterday with me, and I said that uh, doing an internship is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right? Working and getting an opportunity to work with great minds in a small little startup or whichever industry or company that you admire,
Mm-hmm.
that is really the big thing. I would any day suggest you to do like 2 years of internships in companies versus wasting your time and doing MBAs.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, so would you suggest that to even people who are experienced, say they have 5 years, 3 years, 8 years experience? What would you suggest for someone who is certain level ahead, like someone who is 6 years into their career now wants to work with a good brand, a brand who's already prominent? How do you
Yeah.
suggest them to get into without an MBA?
Um, I think one. I don't have a
Yeah, yeah, no, just
pyramid answer for
ideas.
this, but
Yeah.
I think a couple of things would work is that to try and find a niche and pivot to something else,
Okay.
right? For example, I found that a lot of recruitment at a senior or mid management level in marketing companies take place from agencies, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you worked in um, an agency that does user life cycle management, or it could be creative, it could be media. But that sort of pivot really helps you get into bigger brands today.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that is a fair point. So early on in your career, take up internships, and a little later on, figure out different ways. There are ways
Yeah,
out there.
I,
Some.
I, I said internship because they're an easier route
Mhm.
uh, to sort of get into companies. Like,
Got it. Yeah. Someone's asking, Pratik asks, how can we switch a career to product marketing or service marketing? Would you have any idea around this?
Again, so just one thing I wanted to say in the beginning, right? So I'm not an expert in a lot of things. So I'm
Yeah.
not, and this is just slightly meta point, right? You should always ask, the right questions to the right people.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not an expert at this switching careers. Somebody who's done this, and he
Yeah.
was suggesting that to do it within the company that you're working in, right? It's always easier to do this switch within your own company,
Mhm.
but it's better to ask the people who did this.
Fair point. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think we're almost an hour into this conversation. Maybe one last question from our side before we jump into the Slido question. So if you guys have any questions, please put it up on Slido. So the last question from our side would be, what is next for Sai? Like, what are your personal goals in the next, say, 2 3 years? What are you looking forward? Or if you just want to plug, where can people follow your work
I don't know if that's related to marketing, but definitely,
in general? Like personally, what's next for Sai? What excites you, or what is something that you're excited about for the next 2 3 years?
um, okay, that's a slightly personal question, but I think I'll still answer it because I'm very passionate about quizzing, right? And
Hmm.
I think there's an opportunity to sort of scale that up where I do believe that there is an audience like ours. For example, what Product Guy is doing, right?
Yeah.
It's finding a niche set of people who have interest groups, and I think this is going to become more relevant, especially post lockdown or during lockdown, right? We're going to find this easier to find smaller interest groups, right? And try and find scalable ways. So once, I mean, now we are very clearly living in the online world, right? There's
Hmm.
no such thing as an offline event anymore,
Yep.
right? Which means that I can connect with anybody from Poland to US and so on. And we're going to find a lot more focus on niche groups. And I have a few sort of personal interests around popular culture, understand like simple things like there's a lot that you can read about Tarantino or Hitchcock
Hmm.
or anything in popular culture in the West, but not so much in India, right? That's one part that I'm working on, and the second is it's a slightly longer conversation, dude. But if you know, or if you follow me on social media, you know that that's something I'm extremely passionate
Yep.
about. I
Yep.
don't
Yep.
think there are enough people doing. There's a demand for it for sure, but
Yep.
there isn't enough of a supply side, so to speak. And that's something that I really want to work on. Just helping, and it's really led by passion and not really any other reason, right? It's me and a few other people believe in this philosophy, where we think that taking a food history walk, right, or reading up about a listicle on Scoop Whoop about history of Indian food, or just having a conversation about what you cook, is an interesting sort of a pool of information that a certain group of people might be uh, interested in.
Hmm.
So that's something that I'm going to be working on, and I've already started working on. So we have a web series called India Wants to Know.
Oh, nice.
That's a subtle brand plugin, by the way.
Yeah, I
That's
know
what
for
it is.
sure, for sure, for sure.
I'm
This
just
is
kidding.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that we're working on. We're looking to see how we can scale that up.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, there's a lot of information about India and its history and its even affairs today that people aren't aware of, like
Right.
CA or Constitution and things like that. So
Yep.
yeah, that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Nice.
And apart from that, I think overall, okay, again, these are all philosophical terms, right? But I think a lot of internet is garbage. This is slightly my personal view that. And with Dunzo, with anything else that we're trying to do is create good quality content that the internet can be filled with. Even this, right? Even what Product Guy is doing. We could have spent this time doing absolute rubbish, but what you're trying to do is really use this resources that you have off the web and try and make this. I mean, it's going to sound like a lot like Gavin Belson about like making it a better place, but that's really what I think. Like the way what I'm doing in Dunzo, what I'm doing in India Wants to Know is
Yep.
really clean up the internet and make good content out there people would want to see.
That's amazing.
Thanks, Dipayan, for that.
Yeah.
I did not force Dipayan to do that, by the way.
No, no, that's amazing. Yeah, we always love this section where, we get to know more about what the speaker really, is passionate about outside of work. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas around these personal projects, please. What is the best way to get in touch with you in case folks want to get in touch with you after this call? Twitter?
Twitter is the best place.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So guys, follow Sai if you don't, and if you love quizzing, I think he might be hosting a bunch of quiz once COVID open. Do you have any online quizzes coming up?
I actually do a weekly online open quiz
Awesome.
for a limited set of audience. In fact, I'm doing one tomorrow
Okay.
on a Sunday, and hopefully we should be rolling something out slightly bigger in a couple of weeks. I'll keep
Nice.
people informed on Twitter.
For sure, for
But,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So guys,
And
follow-
one more thing, sorry, just a caveat, right?
For sure.
As and whoever's interested, actually, I had this slide as well somewhere. Yeah. So one important thing for marketers is to do a lot of self-marketing.
Mhm.
I know this is a personal call, and this everybody can sort of have their own call, but I do believe that if you let me give an example, right?
Yeah.
When I recruit marketers, or when I recruit anybody in my content team, I don't look at their CV. I don't look at their LinkedIn. I don't care what you've written in LinkedIn. We all know most of the things I've written on LinkedIn are whatever. But my point is that I look at what you are on social, right? And I think that especially in the COVID period, I see a lot more people doing it, which is great. But I think self-marketing is an important thing, right? Because unfortunately, marketing is a very intuitive function. We all think that we know what good ads look like, but we don't necessarily know the process of it. But it's very intuitive. We think that we know what good branding is, what good marketing is, that, and a lot of it comes into if you can exercise it for your own branding. For me, like I'll give you a simple example. Me being on this call, right? I'm on this call with 200 people. They're looking at me. I'm marketing myself, right? And everything about positioning. I'm positioning myself as a person who's an expert at certain things, but not in other things. With a certain experience, there's a reason. So if you know what RTB is, reason to buy, right? My RTB is my qualifications and what you mentioned earlier in the call. So I'm just making a meta point that if you're a marketer, you have absolutely every reason to market yourself or understand these mediums themselves, right? And pick one or two goals, right? You can pick LinkedIn, which is the easiest thing. You can pick Twitter, you can pick Instagram, pick a niche and try and market that out, right? And whatever I explain about brands, what they should be doing, you should do this for yourself.
Nice. Yeah, fair point. Do you have any anecdotes on someone who's reached out to you with something really creative? Maybe they don't have any great degree, any great CV, but they've done something crazy to reach out and like get an internship at Dunzo, for example, or maybe your friends, if you've seen someone share something across. Just to give the audience an example of, how people, there are very few people doing some stuff like that. Many of them, they can be experimental with these kind of things. So any anecdotes that have happened in your career so far?
I mean, I get a lot of people who say that I love what you do on marketing and what you do on Dunzo, and we love it and so on. But I think the real trigger for me to sort of recruit someone is when they suggest something better that you can do, right? Or point out something you've done wrong, right? As a rule, I hate people who agree with me, right? I hate someone who says that, yeah, this is great, this is good. Like, I already knew that, right? Tell me what is wrong with that. Why did it not work, right? So I do this even in agencies. When an agency comes to me and says that you guys are doing amazing work, I love Dunzo, I use Dunzo all the time, and that's typically how a pitch works, right? They come and say a lot of good things about you, and then they say this is what we can do. The question that I always ask is that, hey, this is what we did. How would you have done it better, right? How would you change this? And really, what anytime a recruitment, I'm not looking to see what you've done, right? I'm really looking to see what your thought process is. So I hired one of my best copywriters on Twitter because I knew that this person understood that medium, right? And I literally DM'd her the role.
Oh, wow.
Right. And there was another person that I recruited because that person DM'd me and said that I love what you do. I love what marketing you do. I said, that's fine. So what would you do differently, right? And that person told me 2-3 things that we had not done, right? And that really impressed me. I don't care for compliments as much as you can tell me that, oh, this should have been done this way, it would have done worked better, or for an audience that is different. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's amazing. So I think bottom line is, guys, get interesting, like, be interesting, and I think there are opportunities out there. But yeah, start
Yeah.
project. Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. I think we'll just jump right into the Slido questions. I think there are a bunch of them, and I'll pick the ones right on top. So Dipayan asked, who do you admire as one of the best brand marketers, managers globally and in India? Any names that you can suggest so people can go follow?
Um, I mean, I wouldn't classify him as a brand marketer,
Hmm.
but definitely, I think I'm sure most of you already follow him, Andrew Chen. I think
Yeah.
he posts a lot of interesting insights around um, marketing and right? And what I love about him is that he calls bullshit on things, right? Like, for example, one of the things he said initially is that when you're a startup and you have to go from 0 to 1, you don't need brand marketing, right? Like a simple thing, like my role is not necessary in a startup that is starting from 0 to 1,
Hmm.
right? In your initial days, you need to sort of be as frugal as possible. And I love the fact that he in fact says that there's this marketing complex that convinces people that you need brand marketing, right? I know of a very popular startup in Bangalore which spent like 6 crores on hiring a really large brand consulting agency to redesign their logo and make it a lot more simple and aesthetically pleasing and all that.
Okay.
I mean, those are mistakes that we should not be making, and I feel that people like Andrew Chen call that out.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's, I mean, I really think he's one of the better ones. Uh,
Nice.
Overall, from a marketing point of view, I think he's not a marketeer, but Kunal Shah
Yeah.
puts out a lot of interesting insights,
Yeah.
right? And as a marketer, that's all your job is. Your job is to find those insights, right? When we are putting out partner with sign meme, you have to understand it's not in a meme format. It's really telling people what partners are thinking in their mind, but they can't say,
Hmm.
right? And that's an important insight. We all know what consumers are saying. We don't know what partners are saying, right? And we found that partner with sign was an interesting way to. So that insight is important to understand. And I feel that Kunal Shah has this great way of sort of he puts it out in a very simple way,
Yeah.
like one tweet and all that, but it's got layers behind it. And as a marketer, if you want to follow somebody, just follow Kunal Shah and Andrew Chen, and you'll get a lot of help.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah, I agree with you there. Another question. I think we have almost 30 questions. So maybe if how much time do you think you have on this call? We could prioritize that way, or we can just like do a rapid fire kinds. Maybe another 10 to 10, 15 minutes. I think we still have
Yeah,
over set.
no,
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go a little faster here. Pragya asked something more on Zomato. So how can Zomato brand into a single entity having multiple products? I think it's a little more technical here, but she mentions, you have Gold, you have O2, you have TR. So, where there is low MAU in international markets, how do you go
yes,
about thinking? Yeah, I think you got the question
just a second.
there.
So honestly, yeah. So Pragya and I have actually worked together on Zomato,
Oh,
right?
nice.
So it is a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't have a simple solution because unfortunately the problem with Zomato is also that it's spread across multiple countries, right? And its stance in different countries is varying, right? So Zomato has a very high loyalty base, it has very high awareness, and hence able to charge a premium in this category, and you can build a mother brand sort of a hierarchy in India easily. But I think that each of these services, the value is different, and I would really go the way it is currently, which is individual brands, right? Especially for premium products like Zomato Gold, it has to be different from the rest, right? A classic example is that if you know Lexus and Toyota, or Nexa and Suzuki, right? Over a period of time, you can't stretch your value if you're attached to the mother brand, right? Which is why I think Gold, the way it is going right now, which is to build a different premium positioning away from the mother brand, is important. Again, this matters from country to country, but I still feel individual products, because in online ordering, for example, it's a clear value-based proposition, right? It's about timing, it's about cost, right? So I would build them as individual brands completely. I think overall, as a mother brand, Zomato is doing a great job on social. So that remains as is, right? So for example, there's a Zomato global page and Zomato India page, right? It's really driving awareness for Zomato as a brand, but I think online ordering and Gold should be individually treated.
Yep, yep, sure. Um, Sunita asked notification campaign. So, how would you measure the success of a notification campaign? For example, open rate, or what are some top three metrics that you would track?
Again, a lot of these things should be simplified in the initial stages, and you can get more complex later.
Hmm.
Try not to have too many metrics in the initial period. So if you have a phase one,
Yeah,
which for me was 30 days, right? We looked at only click rate. Simple, just keeping it as simple as possible really helps. So the first 30 days were clearly CTR that we looked at. We ran a lot of tests, right? We ran a test on terms of what kind of copy works, what kind of user groups, whether structure of the messaging, whether discount should be upfront, discount should be. A lot of these things we tried testing and looked at CTRs. Over a bit of time, we obviously looked at order rates as well. But those are the two simple metrics we looked at CTRs. Unfortunately, there's a third metric which can't be quantified, which is social mentions, right? What we found was that suddenly when we started this whole so the second
yeah,
copywriter I spoke about that I hired, right? He came in and he started these whole Indian pop culture references, right? And every week you would get like 40 to 100 social mentions, right? And that obviously leads to an organic boost. It's increasing engagement on social media and so on. So that's something we couldn't measure,
right.
right? That's going to be qualitative. But when you see this happening consistently, that's another metric that we would love to follow.
Interesting, interesting. Yep.
Because
Yep,
we all know that push notifications are really intrusive,
yep, exactly.
right? If you're getting a social mention for
Hmm.
something that's intrinsically intrusive, then you're doing a great job there.
Yep, yep. I think even I've seen so many people commenting about that. So I think that is definitely a plus point. Yep, for sure. I think another interesting question. It's anonymous right now, but consumer brands, B2C brands, how do you go about the org structure? Outsourcing versus in-house. How do you build around the team? So anything, any points on that?
You're talking about, I assume the question is on building marketing teams.
Yeah, marketing teams, and then how do you outsource, especially marketing functions have a lot of agencies working with them. So
Yeah.
how much do you how do you take it in how much work do you take in house, how much do you outsource, how do you think around building a marketing team?
So the things that require scale, for example, media buying, right? Whether it's digital or offline or whatever it is, right? Those are things that require scale, and if you yourself aren't at a certain scale, then it's better to always outsource it. When it comes to creative and content, I'm a firm believer in building in-house teams for two main reasons. One, turnaround time, right? Which has cost implications. If you have an agency working for you with 10 other brands, your turnaround time is going to be a lot slower. And today, if you're a digital first brand, you need to be a lot more faster, especially with moment marketing, for example. For us, moment marketing is a big deal, right? 30% of our content that is not planned. It is genuinely kept vacant because you never know when Modi has done something to go viral, and you need to have a point of view on that, right? So my point is that turnaround time matters. The second thing is, in for a startup, I find that building an in-house team is a lot more cost effective than
Right.
paying an agency, right? Again, this depends on context to context. Media may not be, but in terms of creative, I always firmly believe that unless there are certain skill sets, for example, if you are going big on television and you need to make a film that is of a certain quality, requires certain kinds of production, script writing, you may not have the skill. So that time we go out to an agency and outsource that
Got
on
it.
a case-to-case basis. But on a regular day-to-day basis, I would always build an in-house team for creative and media. If you don't have the scale, then outsource the media. But creative, as much as possible, build in-house.
Got it, thanks. And any org structure that you can share, like how do you plan, like, or is it very different across different companies?
You're talking about marketing team, right?
Yeah, marketing team specifically.
Okay, let me just share the screen as well.
Yeah.
right? So again, I'm talking not in terms of performance and media, right? That's usually a fairly small team with simpler KRAs. I think the larger confusion, what most people have a question on, is how do you build an in-house creative team or a content team, right?
Mhm.
So what you see on the left is typically how any agency that you would work with, right? There's an agency, there's a team that does account planning, which is strategy, consumer insights, research, etc. Then there is the account management team, these are key account managers, what we call as client servicing, etc. Then there's creative. Right now, let me
Right.
tell you how creative team is looks like an agency. There is the art team. There's an art director. There's a junior art director. Then there's an art intern, and so on and so forth. Right. Then there's a copywriter. Then there's a films team, right, which handles photography and film and so on. Then there's separately, for some reason, there's a separate team which looks at only digital, right? My point is that this model doesn't work anymore, especially in the current context, especially for digital first brands, which is why I would build an internal brand team. And again, these are the level is based on priority, right? I would always start a great marketing copywriter and one graphic designer. Even if the graphic designer is not, let me just stop my video.
Yep.
But even if the designer is not of top quality, having invested in a great copywriter is more important because designers can use what the team has created, right? Over a period of time, and all of this depends on what your requirements are. What we found is that majority of our requirements in marketing is performance marketing. Performance marketing, majority of the inventory is video. Most of the CTRs are better on video when live action versus animated. So then we decided that we need to hire somebody on films. So work backwards. All of this needs to be justified by ROI. So if you're spending 90% of your money on YouTube ads, then you need to have a films team. If you're spending 90% of your ad money on static ads on GDN, then it's a different conversation, right? So because you'll always need to justify this to your CFO, right? How are you having a team, these people spending so much money on them, and what is the ROI? So that's my point. This is how an internal team would look like. Ideally, a copy, design, films, and any kind of project management. Right? You need somebody to sort of manage this workflow.
Yep.
Yeah, all of that.
Yep. Thanks so much for sharing that. I think that was insightful. Someone asked on the frequency. So quality versus quantity. Do you what one? How do you go about thinking that? Do you spend more time because end of the day bandwidth is the same. So do you spend more time on creating good quality content but less number of pieces, or do you just keep iterating, keep pushing out content, but maybe quality is not that heavy? So how do you think about that?
Okay, so I actually have a slide on
It's
this.
amazing. You have like resources. So these are like common questions that we have.
Yeah, so I know the kind of question that people ask,
Yep.
and the way I built this was really that there is conventional wisdom,
Yep.
right, and there is hustling wisdom,
Yep.
right? And I assume everybody on this call is looking to hustle. Nobody's
Right.
working
Right.
for Coca-Cola and trying to get the Priyanka Chopra ad out, right?
Yeah.
So I have seen this through experience that frequency trumps quality all the time,
Hmm.
right? It's more important to get it out there on time and get more out there rather than getting something perfect, right? And you'll see this a lot with, if you go to a traditional brand's homepage or an Instagram page, you'll see like one post that's very well designed, has some celebrity, etc. Versus you go to Dunzo page, you'll see sometimes 5 posts in a day,
Hmm.
right? Because what we're seeing is that with digital media and social media, there is no gospel truth on what works and what's not. A lot of it is based on trials, and for trials you need to have a higher frequency of things that are changing. The second is that a lot of it is changing. 1 year ago you may not have thought of TikTok as your primary platform. Today, if you're not on TikTok, you're irrelevant, right?
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of this is changing by the a day. And the other thing that I have found is that same doesn't work, different
Mhm.
works, right? So what I mean by that is that even if the quality of content is not great, if it's different,
Yep.
I'll give a bad example. Okay, how many of you know this guy called I don't know his name? He does this thing called chickpeas on TikTok.
Sai, I
You know,
think they
Suhas is very
lost
classy.
your.
He doesn't know these things, but I'm sure.
No, no. I think we lost your audio, so wasn't able to
Uh,
grab the name.
can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, so this guy who does nonsense on TikTok and he says chicken leg piece, right? My point is that over there, there's a lot of things that are trend simply because they are different, right? So my
Right.
point is that the conventional wisdom says that you should get good quality. For example, consistency, right? A lot
Mhm.
of brands will tell you that you should remain consistent to your positioning. Absolutely wrong, right? It is
Okay.
no longer true. It's
Mhm.
important for you to be relevant for that audience. So if you go to a Dunzo homepage, right, we will have a take on Game of Thrones. We will have a take on. We will talk about our Dunzo superheroes, and you will talk about uh, what was trending yesterday. Something, right? My point is that we're always talking about things that it's just like you and I, right? We are. I'm a quizzer during the morning. I'm marketeer in the afternoon. I'm
Yep.
doing some cooking during the evening, right? So as people are different throughout the entire day or during the period. People expect brands also to be different as well, right? So this conventional wisdom, it says that you should be consistent, you should, like, agencies will come and tell me that Dunzo should always be talking about on time delivery or great stories. No, that is not true. That is not what people expect, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I can go into a lot on this, but I
I
feel
think.
that
Yep.
quality is not as important as frequency in this day and age.
Got it. Got it. I think I love this slide. Is it okay if I take a screenshot or?
Yeah, yeah, please, please.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, I think, I mean, this is something that he's put into words, but this is something that's always been on my head as well. And thanks whoever put up this question. So I think thanks for sharing these in like a concise way. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, moving quickly into, I think the questions are just pouring in. So I don't think we'll be able to take all of them, but maybe just two more questions that we'll take. If you guys have any questions, you can put it in the chat section here because a lot of them are asking about memes. So there are, I think, four common questions, which is on meme marketing. So what are your thoughts on memes and future of meme marketing?
So again, these are slightly larger points. Okay, so let me tell you why I think. So I was speaking to a couple of psychologists. So I try and understand, and this is something as a cardinal rule for all marketers, right? Is that try and go out of your um, area of interest, right? So the best places to read marketing is not agency facts or ad age or some other marketing publication. It's really beyond that thing. So for example, one of the things I've
So I think we lost
uh,
you. Yeah. Now I can
can
hear.
can you hear me now better?
Yes, 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 yes.
But I hope as marketers we go beyond just marketing publications and platforms
Mhm.
to understand marketing. So what I mean by that is, my opinion is that the best brand in marketing in India is BJP, right? And BJP does a lot of its marketing on memes, on WhatsApp groups, on WhatsApp chats, on funny videos of Rahul Gandhi, inspiring videos of Modi ji, right? All of this is funny to us, but you have to understand it is actually doing its job well, right?
True.
And when I speak to, so I spoke to a psychologist as to why memes work, right? And she told me that even in a period like ours right now, COVID, right? We should all be looking at data. We should all be looking at tests. We should all be looking at numbers. We should be looking at medical information, right? But we are not. 90% of our time is spent on Instagram looking at memes of working from home, Bartans, Scotch Brite, uh, parents suffering with, like couples fighting with each other, right? Because what we see is that people during troubling times look for humor as a way out, right?
Yeah.
So memes are become the when, let's say, mothers taking care of, or let's say parents taking care of the children, right? They're frustrated morning till night taking care of toddlers. So when they share, what they share on groups is not interesting information or life hacks to get better. They share memes on how frustrating it is for a mother to take care of the child,
Yeah.
right? So my point is that memes are here to stay, right? I think one of the best brands which did this was Game of Thrones, right? A lot of Game of Thrones marketing during its last two seasons was done through memes. So and brands should try and find ways to use that. We are doing that as well. It helps us get to a newer audience. The people who engage with funny tweets, and clever little well-designed illustration posts are only the Dhruvs. If you want to really reach out to the Manjunats and Manjulas of the world, like the way BJP is doing, right, is through memes, is through humor, is through funny videos, is through dub smash videos, is through TikTok videos, right? I've seen in the last 1 week, and I'm sure most of you also have, there are 2 videos on TikTok about VCs pitching to, startups pitching to VCs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
finding a tech co-founder.
Right. Yeah.
So
So
that tells you where, I mean, even a startup community is looking at TikTok videos, right, for
Right.
getting information and inspiration. So
Right. Yeah. That's a great point. I think last question for this session. I think 60-minute session went into 90, and I mean there are still so many questions, but a lot of questions around low budget or zero budget marketing. Would you have any thoughts on this? Because I think 2 questions specifically. Someone's asking that I have less than 60 LPA annual budget. What can I do? Another one. Do you have suggestions on digital marketing plan with no list? I think a lot of early stage folks here. Do you have any thoughts
sure.
on that?
So yes, I agree that it is difficult. The way to do that is try and do it organically. Like for the first 45 to 60 days, if you want to build, and again, so here's what I would suggest you do. One, find out who your user is, right? Second, where are the users spending the maximum amount of time? If you find that out, then you can work backwards into creating what kind of content they need, right? And for the first 90 days, first 200 days, don't spend any money. Just create content that the users want to see, right? For example, in Dunzo, we have figured out our audience is on Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp, right? In your case, it could, in that person's case, it could be LinkedIn, it could be WhatsApp, right? So identify who your user is, identify what your channel is, then create content for them and do this organically, right? Create a community, create power users for yourselves who will share this. You cannot spend money on reaching out to 10 million users like the way big brands do. You have to hack it by finding smaller groups of people who will be power users. And a simple thing could be like WhatsApp groups, right? Quint has done this really well, right? Quint used to have by invite only WhatsApp groups. I'm creating a YouTube show called India Wants to Know. The way we have done this is through Google groups and through WhatsApp groups. I have zero money to spend on ads, right? I have zero money to spend on promotions. So what I do is I found that my audience is on Twitter, right? And I created the kind of content people like on Twitter. People like threads on Twitter. People like information on Twitter, right? So we are not creating memes. We are creating information there. So I'm creating threads of, and we've now grown there, right? And we try and get celebrities to give us shout outs.
Nice.
Right? Shout outs work really well in the initial stages. So these are the simple hacks that you can try if you like. You have zero budgets, right? I am really a big fan of brand which do good work on zero budgets, right? Because that's really the test. Because anybody can spend like millions of dollars and get influencers to comment on your threads. But yeah.
Awesome. Sai, I think maybe just this last point, I think you were talking about psychology for brand marketers. Fareen asked, I think maybe there was a lag in connection. So would you be able to elaborate on it? And if there are any resources that folks can read about to get deeper into this particular section?
So again, I try and sort of tap into my own network to find people who are actually psychologists, right? So what I meant by that is that, like for example, this call, right? You're talking to a guy who's heading marketing, right? But maybe you should be talking to a psychologist. You should be talking to an anthropologist, right? So what I did was when I was trying to understand BJP's marketing, I didn't go to a BJP marketing head, right, or an agency. I went to a journalist, right, who was writing a book on BJP's marketing. Right, and he gave me insights into how it's working. When I wanted to understand how memes work or humor works, I tried to talk to a psychologist who works with parents, right, to understand. So parents are a group of audience for us for this year. So to understand what are the pain points that they have, right? So that's what I meant by, like, psychology was an example, but I think there's a lot that's written. So just to start off with, if you read this thing called Archetypes by Carl Jung, that's a good starting point for you to understand how consumers and people think. It's a great. A lot of account planners and brand strategists start off their career by reading Carl Jung. Um, the second is there's a gentleman called Santosh Desai. He's one of the legends in Indian marketing, who has written a book. Actually, he writes a weekly column in Times of India called City City Bang Bang, play on Chitty Chitty Bang
Yeah.
Bang. So he's a great reader of consumer behavior in India, right? Santosh Desai, Carl Jung, I already mentioned Andrew Chen,
Yeah.
and I think Kunal Shah comes up with great insights. In fact, a lot of his interviews are brilliant because they give you great insights on how Indian consumers think, what is their value structure looking like, how do they look at categories. So yeah, that's how I would
And
start with. There's also a lot to learn in. Again, this is just up to you to use it, but there's a lot to learn from storytelling. There's something known as the monomyth model. I can maybe send it to you
yeah.
as an after read, but just understanding why Star Wars as a franchisee works, right? Why Harry Potter, even though it's same as Star Wars, but it works really well, right? Just understanding storytelling in popular culture really might help.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's a great starting point, at least. I think 4 great resources, and we'll probably collect that and share it with the wider audience as well. So, I think Sai, I think the questions are still pouring in on Slido, but I think we'll take like a time out on this session. Maybe we'll do like a part two sometime, maybe when the internet is a little better. But I think thank you so much for this session. I personally learned a lot here, and yeah, guys, if you found it useful as well, please. Like give Sai a shout out, and yeah, we'd love to know your feedback as well. So
Sure.
yeah,
I've
Sai
also
has
shared my email ID.
yeah.
If you have any questions, follow up. Because I personally learn from working with startups. I'm always looking to sort of help people in some way because it's not because I'm trying to help them, but largely help myself as well.
Right.
Uh, I think marketing is evolving by the day or by the week. There's no such thing as a cardinal truth or something that was relevant to yesterday is not relevant tomorrow, right? So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, do reach out.
Sure, for sure. So, guys, I think Sai has shared his email also in the section, but you have his Twitter also. So, you have both the links, and definitely follow him. Give him a shout out on social media in case you love the session. And Sai, thank you so much for joining us. I know the internet was a little patchy for you,
Yeah.
but all the best with whatever's next. And I think we can, if you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share before we
No,
end.
thanks so much for doing this. I hope I was able to answer a few of the questions. A lot of you said great things about Dunzo's marketing. That's really not me, folks. There's a large team sitting behind it. I just sort of guide them through it. But yeah, thanks for all the good things. And yeah, do check out India Wants to Know. It's unfortunately, like I said, we are a small little thing, so we would love to give a shout out anytime. If
Sure.
you have any feedback on how the session went, do DM me. I would love to sort of improve this as well.
Awesome, awesome. Sai, I think someone asked earlier was around the slides. Do you
Yeah.
think you'd be able to share that? Maybe you could put it up somewhere and just share.
Sure, I'm actually refining that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a
Take your time.
larger piece, but once it's ready, I'll put it out there
Done.
publicly. A lot of people actually DM me asking me the same thing.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so I've been trying to craft this and get it right over the last 1 year.
Done, done.
Hopefully, it'll be relevant when I release it, but I'll share that for sure.
For sure, for sure. Okay, guys, thank you so much, Sai, and thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry for the trouble initially, but I think we loved the session and hope you did as well. Join us for the future ones as well. Thank you and
Thank
have
you.
a great
Thanks so
weekend.
much,
Thanks so
Suhas.
much, Sai. See you.
Thanks. See you guys.
See you.